It is now my pleasure to bring up the President of Mississippi State, Dr. Mark Keenum.
All right. My goodness. Good morning, Bulldogs. What a great day to be a Bulldog. This is exciting. I am thrilled and honored to be here today as we introduce Joe Moorhead as our football coach here at Mississippi State University. I'm going to tell you what, I don't have to tell anyone in this room how important football is to Mississippi State. We love football. I love football. I'm your #1 fan. Many of you know that I'm a product of Mississippi State. I'm one of the nearly 140,000 living alumni of this great university. In fact, my very earliest memories in life were centered around Mississippi State football with my family, listening to the legendary Jack Crystal calling our games. I had a chance to share this morning with Coach Moorhead my 47-year-old cowbell that my father gave me when I was 9 years old. And it's a treasured piece of my family. Just like it is for all of you. This is a great occasion for us. New leadership, new vision to move our university's football program forward to a new level. And in the 9 years that I've been here, we've put quite a bit of investment in football here at Mississippi State. Just look at Davis Wade Stadium, the expansion that we so enjoy. Look at this beautiful football complex that we're in here today. We want our young men, our student athletes, to have the best facilities possible to compete in the most challenging conference in the world. And not just compete, but to win championships. And that's what we're committed to here at Mississippi State. Well, it takes good leaders. It takes people of vision, people who can lead young men, can mold them not only to be good, outstanding athletes on the field, but to be good men and role models off the field, and to help them understand the importance of academics and earning their college education and earning their degree here at Mississippi State. Now, John Cohen has done a good job of going around and fielding pools of candidates, and I've heard a lot about Joe Moorhead over the last several days. I've heard that he is a visionary. He's a motivator. He's a good reader of talent. He's a great coach. But the one word that I kept hearing time and time again as people were describing Joe Moorhead to me, the one word that kept coming up time and time again that to me was the most impressive was that Joe Moorhead is a man of integrity. And that means a great deal. Well, John Cohen has been our athletic director now for a year. John, you've done quite a bit in 1 year. You've done a great job. I'm going to tell you what, our athletics director, John Cohen, he came to me, I don't know, several weeks ago. Came to me and he said, there is a possibility that we may need to hire a new coach. And I am going to begin the process of evaluating and studying and learning about potential leaders of our football program here at Mississippi State. I'm going to be very quiet about it, but I'm going to do it in a very professional manner. And he did an outstanding job. He got us very prepared. I could not be more pleased and more proud of the leadership of our athletics department than I am of this gentleman. Y'all join me in welcoming John Cohen.
You know, I've said this many times, Dr. Keenum is an outstanding public speaker. He's a powerful speaker, and what amazes me the most, and you know that all great speakers do not need the visual aid, they don't need notes. And really, I think that's indicative of what a great speaker he is. All right. I want to thank Jared Benko, and I want to thank Bo Hemphill, who went through this process along with me. Those guys are our second lieutenants, and they're the guys who really helped us go through this process. I want to thank them, and I want to thank Dr. Keenum, who's been involved in this process every step of the way. I say this all the time, and I mean this: to work for Dr. Keenum and what Dr. Keenum does for this university on a daily basis is extraordinary. I feel so privileged to work for him. I want to thank, bear with me here, I want to thank Scott Strickland. I want to thank Greg Byrne. I want to thank Mitch Barnhart. Here's why. They let me stand in the back of the room. They let me be a part of coaching searches for a while now. So even as an old baseball coach, I got to sit back, listen, take notes, and be a part of these coaching searches because it's different, especially at this high level of intercollegiate athletics. I want to thank those guys. I want to thank you. I want to thank our fans. Here's why. 9 years ago, when we were looking for a football coach, it was a little bit different of an approach because our job wasn't as in demand as it is right now. The minute Coach Mullen decided to leave Mississippi State, the outpouring of interest in Mississippi State football was remarkable, and here's why. It's because of you. It's because we have the most electric environment in all of college football. It's because you have created an atmosphere, along with our student athletes, have created this brand of Mississippi State football that is now a national brand. So thank you for helping us to create that. As Dr. Keenum mentioned, how did this begin? How did the search begin? It began many, many months ago. Here's why. 2 reasons. Number one, I felt like at any point in time, we had the possibility of Coach Mullen doing something different. I also felt like as an athletic director or in any position of leadership, you have to be ready for what's next. So Dr. Keenum is absolutely right. We did a ton of research. We got out there and in a very quiet way tried to start getting as much information as we could about this industry, about the coaches who are going to be available, about the future of our program. We talked to industry experts all over this country. We talked to NFL people. We talked to NFL head coaches. We talked to GMs. We talked to scouts. We talked to industry experts at ESPN. We talked to folks who have blogs. We talked to guys all over the country who have a feel for college football. I can guarantee you over the last 60 days, I've probably talked to 120 different people about this position and about what we should be looking for and the availability of the best talent in the country. In those conversations, it is amazing how often the name Joe Moorhead kept coming over and over and over again. And I want to tell you what we were looking for. We're looking for a positive leader of men. And everyone we talked to kept saying what an incredible, positive figure this man has been, and the young men from all over the country. As the word got out that Joe was going to become our head coach, he was getting text from former players, parents all over the country expressing love for him. His phone was exploding, and I can totally believe that. I can see what those young men and what he meant to those young men. We were looking for a brilliant football mind. So I remember having a conversation with James Franklin at Penn State University, and I said, I know this guy can call plays. I know this guy has an incredible grasp for offensive football, maybe more so than anybody in college football. But I need to ask you this. How about defensive football? And I'll never forget for the rest of my life what Coach Franklin said. He said, John, this guy is a ball coach. He said, this guy can coach any position on the field. We could put him on the defensive side of the football at Penn State, and we wouldn't miss a beat. Pretty powerful stuff. We were looking for a dynamic play caller. We believe at Mississippi State this is something of great importance, and Joe made it clear to us that he wanted to call plays wherever he was. We were looking for somebody who had head coaching experience. Having talked to the athletic director at Fordham University, he made a statement to me that was really powerful. He said when Joe was our head coach at Fordham, he said he'd been doing it for 25 years. He had never met a better person or a better coach anywhere than Joe Moorhead. Again, pretty powerful stuff. We were looking for somebody who had recruited at the highest level, and there's no question that Joe Moorhead fit that bill. We were looking for somebody who had a blue-collar type of personality, but an intellectual personality at the same time. Joe fits both of those bills. We were looking for somebody who had to overcome adversity at some point in their life, because wherever you find somebody incredibly successful, you find that they had had some type of adversity they had had to overcome, and I know Joe will tell you a little bit about his past and his history. We're looking for somebody who's unselfish and has a servant heart. Through our discussions with Joe, he kept talking about this over and over again. He needs selfless people. He needs to surround himself with selfless players, selfless coaches, and selfless administrators as well. I truly believe that about him. And I want to tell you this, as we went through the process of Joe's contract with him, it's probably the least amount of time we spent on any subject, because Joe said, hey, what you're offering me is great. Here's what's important to me. I want to take care of our staff, and I want to make sure we have the best football staff in America. That's what's important to me. I said, Joe, you're so intelligent, you're so smart. In some ways, he kind of has a professorial nature to him. And I said, Joe, do you have an edge to you? And he said, oh my goodness, John, do I have an edge? I want to tell you this. I just attended his first meeting with our players. It's the best first meeting of a team I've ever been around in 25 years of intercollegiate athletics, and I think every football player in that room would back me up on that. We're looking for somebody who has an appreciation for what has happened here over the last 8 years. I think we all have an appreciation for the fact that Mississippi State is better now than we were 9 years ago, and there's no question about that. And Joe has a deep appreciation for that. But make no mistake about it, Joe Moorhead is not here at Mississippi State to maintain. He's here to make us better, and he made that clear to the 120 people in that room. We were looking for somebody with energy, with passion, and somebody with a great plan. There's no question Joe has an incredible plan. You can feel the passion in his voice. Joe has been in this game for 20 years. The last 4 institutions he's been a part of have all won conference championships. In fact, in his first year at Penn State, he was part of Penn State winning their first outright Big Ten championship in 25 years. This past August of 2017, Sports Illustrated and Yahoo.com named him as the #1 rising assistant in all of college football. In just 2 seasons, he has transformed Penn State's offense into the very elite in all of college football. The year before he got to Penn State was ranked 100 in the country in total offense. Just 10 months later, they're ranked 21 in the country in total offense. He helped develop Heisman Trophy candidate Saquon Barkley. He helped develop National Quarterback of the Year candidate Trace McSorley. He took over a Fordham program that was 1-10, and in the next 5 years went 38-13, including 3 straight FCS playoff appearances. But out of all the things, and I could speak about this forever and ever and ever, but out of all the things that are important to Joe, he feels that his greatest accomplishment, the love of his existence, is his family. And we want to welcome his wife, Jen, and his children, Kira, Mason, and Donovan, to the Mississippi State family. The greatest thing about my speech to you today is this: it's over. And I want to introduce you to the 33rd football coach at Mississippi State University, Mr. Joe Moorhead.
Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Well, we had no notes, we had a little page of notes, and now we got a dang whole notebook full of notes. So I think that's going to tell you a little bit about my skills as a public speaker, even being an English major. So first and foremost, thank you all for coming out today. I appreciate everybody's time, and certainly a historic event for myself and my family and this tremendous opportunity. This is my family and I's first true extended journey into the South. And when you hear about the term Southern hospitality, we found out that that is real and it's true. We got off the plane yesterday and we were met with a crowd of what had to seem like 1,000, 2,000 people yesterday at the airport, and must have signed 500 cowbells. I even took a picture with a dog, so that was unique, and that was a positive. Shook a bunch of hands. I signed a hand. It was a pretty neat deal. But so from my family and I to the Starkville community, Mississippi State, and certainly the state of Mississippi, we couldn't be more appreciative of the welcome that you guys have given us and making us feel part of this family as my family and I transition, our lives from State College, Pennsylvania, down here to the wonderful state of Mississippi. I'd like to give a few thank yous first and foremost. Number one, as a man of faith, I'd like to thank God, for blessing me with an abundance of gifts in my life, with my family, with my health, and with an opportunity to be involved in the greatest team game in the world. So, all praise be to God, and certainly thankful for all the gifts that He's given me. Number two, I'd like to thank my family, my beautiful and wonderful and supportive wife, Jennifer. As you guys know, as coaches' wives in this profession, they do a lot of the heavy lifting while we're out here, chasing our dream and trying to do things to make our programs better. And certainly, I really love her and appreciate her support for helping me and allowing me to chase my dreams as a football coach. My three beautiful children, Kira, Mason, and Donovan, you all get to see them. We're trying to decide right now whether they're going to finish the year out or move down here now. They're going to do a little bit of house hunting today, so they're the lights of my life. I love them more than anything in the world, and certainly appreciate and hope they understand the fact that the time I spend away from them, that every free moment I have is with them, and I love them more than anything in the world. I'd like to thank my parents, my father, Merv Sr., and as Mr. Cohen indicated, I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My dad worked 35 years as a steel worker in a steel mill, worked 3 jobs to put 2 kids through college. We were first-generation college kids, and I really think in terms of my formation as a person and kind of what I stand for was understanding what a blue-collar work ethic meant, that it didn't matter how cold it was, it didn't matter how warm it was, how early in the morning, how late at night. He got up every day, he went to work, came home, got something to eat, and whether his second job was a bartender, a janitor, whatever he needed to do to put food on the table and provide for his family and make sure that they were well educated, and ultimately our goal as parents is to make sure our children's lives are better than our own. I can't be more appreciative of my father, and one day, he explained to me, and you see the pictures of the steel mills and the hot, the fire and all that stuff. That stuff's real, and he explained to me one day, I do this so you don't have to, and that meant a lot to me. I'd like to thank my mother, Rose, who my father was the heavy hand and a disciplinarian and someone who pushed me. My mother was caring, supportive, and did the things, as a stay-at-home mom that really, helped my family and I understand that, the parents can carry you in 2 different ways, and I certainly appreciate my mother. My older brother, Merv, Jr., who has taught me a lot of lessons about life, a lot of lessons about sports, and what it means to be a man and what it means to be a father. And then my sister, Tina, who I don't think I have a bigger fan, so she's certainly supportive. She'll be down here ringing the cowbell like a lunatic, and I look forward to that. So if you see her in the stand, she'll be the one hopefully ringing that thing the loudest. So certainly have a great appreciation for my family. Next, I'd like to thank all the head coaches that I worked for and as assistant coach, starting at the University of Pittsburgh with Walt Harris, and also Larry Coyer was the defensive coordinator. Georgetown University, Bob Benson, University of Akron, J.D. Brookhart at the University of Connecticut, Randy Edsel, and Paul Pasqualoni, and all the assistants that I worked for at those schools, and most importantly, guys, James Franklin. And I know you guys are all understand Coach Franklin and his history and his past and what he's doing now. And, you know, I'll be forever indebted to Coach Franklin because 2 years ago, he was in need of an answer at the offensive coordinator position, and he had the vision and foresight to roll the dice and take a chance on a 44-year-old head coach of a 1AA school who needed to come in and help a Big Ten offense help the team achieve its goals. So I couldn't be more, I'm forever indebted to Coach Franklin, and obviously he's done tremendous things with the program and has Penn State rolling in the right direction, and he'll continue that success, but certainly Coach Franklin deserves a ton of praise and credit, and I'm indebted to him for giving me this opportunity. And certainly the last thing is this: every player that I've ever coached at every school, at every level, as coaches, you know, we put them in a position to be successful with our culture and you know, teaching them how to be better students and better men, and certainly as players. And it's because of their success on the field that as coaches we're able to move on and elevate to the next position in our lives as jobs. There you go, Jack. Good job. Yeah. We got to get him a treat for that one. That was good. All right. But certainly it's because of the players, and for every player that I've ever coached, and you know, I feel like I have great relationships with all those guys. Certainly I'm indebted to them as well, because without their performance on the field, I wouldn't have been able to move on to the next goals of my life, so I'm thankful to them. I'd like to thank the Mississippi State administration, start with President Keenum, Mr. Cohen, Jared Benko, and Bo Hemphill, and want to I can't stress enough in this search process, and you know, I've had opportunities in the past and I've gone through this process, the level of professionalism, the attention to detail, and all those things that go into a successful head coaching search, they were there unbelievably. And at the tail end of it, you know, this thing, you know, was coming down pretty quick, and it happened quick. And you know, I can't be more thankful to you guys for this opportunity to come here and lead this team. And thank you for everything you've done throughout the process. And lastly, I'd like to thank the fans who have been out in droves at the airport. Last night, I was serving cheese fries at 10:30 a.m. in the Cotton District, I guess that's what they call it. So they were pretty fired up. They were getting some fries and having a good old time, and got a picture with the head ball coach. So certainly the fans and the student body and everybody in the community couldn't be more excited about that. A little bit about the decision-making process to accept this job here at Mississippi State. I got some great advice from a coach a long time ago that when you're considering your options and have the opportunity to take a position, there's three things that you consider: personal, professional, and monetary. And when I took a look at this opportunity at Mississippi State, and like I said, there had been some in the past, and you look at the personal aspect and an opportunity for my family and I to move to a different part of the country and experience some of the things that we hadn't, and then obviously a very supportive environment. You know, it was something that we talked about as a family and felt that it was an awesome opportunity for there, so it checked off the personal box. Second, professionally, as a competitor, as a leader of men, and someone who's in this business really for the competitive aspect of the sport, there is no greater challenge in the Southeastern Conference and the SEC West. So to come in here and be in charge of these young men and chase the things that we're going to chase and compete against the best, it checked off the professional box as well. And lastly, monetarily, you know, obviously, I feel very fortunate to coach a kids game and be provided with the type of salary that I am. And like I said, I grew up with you know, a very middle-class income, and to be able to provide myself and my family with the type of things that we can because of you know, because of what this profession provides, it certainly checked off the last box as well. So certainly thank you to everyone who made that a possibility. Talking a little bit now about the expectation level of our program. You know, first and foremost, I'd obviously like to express my thanks and appreciation to Coach Mullen and his staff here through the 9 years. You know, sometimes you take a job over and it's in a state of disrepair, and sometimes you take a job over and it's in pretty good shape. So this wasn't a job where we had to go in, bulldoze the dang house, all right, dig up the foundation, pour the foundation, put the walls back up, and all. That's not the case with this job. Coach Mullen and his staff did a fantastic job. The foundation's laid, the walls are up. We just got to make sure that we add to it. So credit goes to Coach Mullen and his staff. So we talk about the three pillars of success in our program, all right? And those things that I believe in very truly, in the sense that as a football coach, I believe I'm an educator. All right, and my goal as an educator, and when these kids come here, and hopefully they're here for 4 or 5 years, is to make sure in that time frame that they leave here as a better student, a better player, and a better person. All right, and the way to do that in my eyes is through 3 things: accountability, productivity, and persistence. All right, and from an accountability standpoint, to me, that's all about the little things. All right, it's saying please and thank you, yes sir, no ma'am, and treating the guy who cleans up the floors the same way that you would treat the president of the school. It's treating women with respect like they're somebody's mother, daughter, sister, or wife, and it's doing the little things right all the time. Starting a drill behind the line, it means your hand's not on the line, it's not close to the line, it's behind the line. It's finishing, all right, it's sitting in the front row in class, all right, it's being on time, all those little things, because you look at the game of football, every Friday, every Saturday, and every Sunday, it happens. A team with less talent beats a team with more talent, because the team that does the little things right, all right, is the team that wins. And I promise you, we're going to be a football team that doesn't cut corners, and we're going to do the little things right. And as you see us do that throughout everything that we do, if I could trust you to go to class, I could trust you to run the right route. If I trust you to treat people with respect, I could trust you to throw the ball to the right person. So we're going to win through 3 things: talent, which we have an abundance of; culture, which we're going to make sure we put our kids in to do the right thing; and lastly, coaching, to make sure we put them in a position to be successful. The second thing is productivity, and talk to the guys a little bit about it today, that life isn't about just trying hard. Washing machines try hard, all right? It's about doing things to the best of your ability, all right? And what we want to do is make sure that our guys understand that if you're an A student, I expect you to get A's. If you're a B student, I expect you to get C's. If you're a C student and that's the best you do, then I expect you to get C's. If you're a walk-on player, you're going to know your role and do your job just like everyone else in the program. So you'll be the best walk-on you could be. If you're an all-SEC caliber player, I expect you to do that. If you're the best player in the country, I expect you to play like that, and we're going to be productive. And the last thing is persistence. We're going to finish everything we do. We're going to fight tooth and nail. We're going to scratch and claw, and we're going to make sure everybody understands that when you step on the field with the Mississippi State Bulldogs, you're in for a 15-round fight, and we're not stopping until the bell rings. So understand, let's get fired up for that a little bit, because I'm a little bit excited about that. All right, and as I also talked to the players today about our keys to victory, it's going to be 3 things that we harp on in this program: preparation, effort, and execution. All right, and first being the most important, which is preparation, because I told the guys this morning, there's no such thing as a game day player. You can't go through the whole week and have a bad week of practice and show up on Saturday and expect to perform at the highest level. So everything we do is going to be centered on the preparation aspect, so that during the course of the week, Monday through Friday, we're going to earn the right and make the investment. So when we take the field, we could play fast, we could play physical, and we can react instead of thinking. So the number 1 thing will be preparation. All right, number 2 will be effort. We are going to play every snap of every practice and every game harder than our opponent, and that is non-negotiable. And the last thing is execution. You could prepare well, all right, you could give as good effort as you want, but ultimately football is a game of execution and precision. We're going to be the most precise team in the country, and we're going to do it with 3 things: purpose, passion, and a blue-collar work ethic. In terms of philosophies, offense, defense, and special teams, I'm going to give you 1 word: we are going to attack. We're going to be a team that is going to not allow the other side of the ball to dictate the tempo of the game to us. We're going to dictate what we do, and I think you're going to see offensively, defensively, and on special teams. To me, attitude reflects leadership, and what I want these guys to see is they're going to be a mirror image of their coaching staff, that we're going to be demanding without being demeaning, and we're going to put them in a position to be successful, and we're not going to wait. We're not going to circle the ring and wait for the bell and try to get a score on the card. We're going to go for the dang knockout punch, and that's what's going to happen in this program. All right. The last thing is this: our goals of the program, and like Mr. Cohn mentioned, we're not here to maintain, we're here to elevate. The number 1 goal for me as an educator is to graduate 100% of our Bulldog players with a meaningful degree and give them the tools to be productive and responsible citizens. Because ultimately, as an educator, you come into a football program as a college player, the ball is going to deflate at some point, whether it's immediately after you graduate, whether it's 2 years in the NFL, 3 years in the NFL, 5 years in the NFL. You're going to have to go and move on with your life's work and be able to provide yourself and your family with a comfortable existence. And it is my job to make sure that the football part is in order, but these guys are prepared for life after football, and the education part is something that's going to be very, very important. The number 2 goal of our program is to make sure the dang Egg Bowl stays home, all right, right here, all right, okay? I understand rivalry games. I understand what they stand for. I've been a part of them at every level of coaching I've been at. I've had 2 conversations with President Keenum, and they've been fantastic. But at the very end of it, he made it crystal clear. Now there wasn't any gray area or none of that. And he referred to it as that school up north. He wouldn't even mention it by name. But I understand the importance now of keeping that trophy at home, and that's going to be the top goal for us. Our next goal is to make sure that every year we qualify for a bowl game. Our next goal is to make sure that we win the SEC West and consequently win the Southeastern Conference. And our final goal is to win a national championship. And there's a saying. I'm a quote guy, so there's a thing that I talk about all the time, that no one rises to low expectations. And as I sat in front of the team, I told these guys again this morning, I sat in front of the Fordham team that I took over after a 1-10 season and told them that the guys sitting in this room were going to be a part of a league championship team and compete for a national championship. And, you kind of got some funny looks and guys elbowing each other and saying, who's this guy? How about we figure out how to win 2 games before we start talking about a championship? And ultimately, as Mr. Cohn mentioned, year 1, 6-5, year 12-2, beat Temple University, which was a 1A program. Year 3, 11-3, year 4, 9-3, and beat Army, which was another 1A program. And really, because of our kids and our talent, our culture, and our coaching, we're able to, bring to life the things that we said were going to happen. Fast forward to my time at Penn State, I walked into the offensive meeting room for the first time. I met with the kids. And they were, coming off a year where they had struggled a little bit offensively and were 7-6. And, Coach Franklin did a phenomenal job under the circumstances getting those guys to bowl games those first 2 years. But I told them we were going to be one of the top scoring offenses in the Big Ten, and we were going to win a Big Ten championship that year. And once again, history repeating itself, the elbows, the square looks, and, but it ended up happening. And as I stand here before you and stood before the team this morning, I sincerely mean that our goal here is not to just maintain this program, but it's not to insult these guys in this school and this state with low expectations, but we're going to do everything we can here to bring an SEC championship home and be a program that competes for a national championship on a yearly basis. All right? Because you don't build your reputation on what you're going to do. Henry Ford said that, so we got to make sure we understand we don't get what we wish for, we get what we work for. And I have a great feeling that these guys are going to put forth the work necessary, to accomplish those goals. All right, lastly, wrapping up here in the next few weeks, kind of our thought process here moving forward is we're going to make sure that we get out and we recruit and secure our commitments for the class of 2018. Obviously, I know how important the state of Mississippi is for recruiting this region and the country, so we want to make sure we do the things that are necessary to maintain our great recruiting class. Go meet with the team, meet with all these guys individually, learn a little bit more about them, their stories, their families, what makes them tick, what's important to them off the field, and learn a little bit more about them and grow those relationships, and meet with the rest of the support staff and things like that. Obviously, I've got to get a staff in place here, so the wheels are in motion with that. Looking for guys with intelligence, loyalty, and a great work ethic, who once again will be great mentors to our program and give them the tools to be successful in the classroom, on the field, and in the community, and then putting a short-term and long-term calendar together. And obviously, there's a million things to do and not a ton of time. It's been like drinking water out of a fire hose, which is not always a successful endeavor, but certainly, I couldn't be more excited to be here and stand in front of you as the head coach of Mississippi State University. Thank you all for your support. Can't wait to get rolling here and open it up to questions.
Questions for me? We'll give a mic to you.
David Murray, Genes Page 24/7. Coach, you mentioned being play caller. Do you plan to have an offensive coordinator, or will you have that role yourself?
I'm going to have a couple guys that have titles as coordinators, but I'm going to run the offense and I'm going to call the plays.
John had mentioned that he had kind of started this process back several months ago. When did you first get contacted and things, and just how you mentioned how quick the process went? Just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Like most of the time in these instances, the contact occurs through representation. So a lot of the discussions had been with my agents, who did a fantastic job throughout this process. And then when the job finally opened up, the process went rather quickly, and we were able to get a face-to-face interview, and had a second face-to-face interview and thought it was going to last a little bit longer, but appears I did a decent job on both interviews, and it turned around pretty quickly, and it was, that's kind of how it went down.
Paul Jones, 24/7 Sports.
Yes, sir.
How involved will you be with bowl practices and be around in that avenue?
I told the kids this morning, I don't think, this isn't my bowl game. You know, this isn't my season, and I don't think it's fair for me to be around this team when I haven't earned it. Because being in a bowl game is special, and it's a great opportunity. I will be around. The staff I bring in will be around. We're going to be evaluating, watching practices, you know, kind of taking notes and seeing how, you know, the guys compete, how they operate, you know, the skill set. But in terms of coaching and play calling and, you know, day-to-day operations of the game plan and things like that, I won't be involved in that because I haven't earned it. This isn't my bowl game.
Taylor Rayburn with The Reflector. You walk into a team that returns close to 20 starters. You talked about it a little bit, but how does that change necessarily your going into it compared to if you were going into a rebuild?
To rebuild, I think it's great when you have experience. You know, the game of football is best learned through playing on the field and certainly on both sides of the ball and special teams to have guys that have gotten game experience and certainly a tough conference and, you know, have been game tested. That'll certainly benefit us moving forward.
Danny Smith, Strawful Daily News. Coach, I know you were busy being offensive coordinator at Penn State and other places, but over the years, how much did you find out about Mississippi State? Looking at them, how much did you find out about them?
I mean, you being a guy, you know, kind of from the Midwest / Northeast, you know, I mean, I'm a college football fan, and certainly when you talk about, you know, the elite level of college football, you know, the Southeastern Conference is that conference, and certainly the thing that Coach Mullins has done here, in his time, you know, with Dak, and I had an opportunity to get on the phone with him and Fletcher Cox as well, and you know, certainly elevating to the level that they have during that time frame caught everybody's attention. And as Mr. Cohen mentioned, it's gone from a job where, you know, Coach Mullins took it over, and it was something that he had to build into something now that's a very desirable job and one that, you know, is a top 25 job in the country.
Logan Lowry, Tupelo Daily Journal. Just, I know you hadn't seen him practice yet, but just talk about the roster that you're inheriting, just your initial impressions.
Initial impressions, I saw one game earlier in the year. Can't remember which one that was now. I think it was a weeknight game, and then caught the Egg Bowl, obviously. But, you know, sat down with some of the guys last night, went through the depth chart, you know, and talked about, you know, the positions, need by numbers, who we have at each position. But, you know, certainly, you know, to see the things that Mississippi State did against Alabama, competing down to the end, and, you know, some of the quality wins that we had this year, and, you know, the players, particularly at the skill positions, and games are won up front to me. You know, the mentality of your team is dictated by the offensive and defensive lines that, you know, I have not watched any game film, you know, from a coach's perspective, but from what I've seen on TV and kind of keeping track of scores, it's obvious that this is a very competitive roster and football team in a very tough conference.
Hey Joe, Robbie Fault from 247. Just curious on your thoughts on John Cohen from, I guess, one ball coach to another. Your thoughts on him as an AD and how he handled the process as well.
Well, the cool thing is I'm a baseball guy, so we did a lot of talk about baseball. So my guys play baseball, so we did a little talking about baseball. But I mean, just you know, in 20 years, I've been around a bunch of administrators, athletic directors, and have gone through this process a couple times. And the times I've gone through it have been tremendous. But just the expeditious nature. The level of, you know, the attention to detail, and, you know, there was never any gray area. Everything that he said was going to happen, happened, and they were upfront and honest, and that's just something I appreciated.
Brett Hudson, the Dispatch.
How's it going?
You've taken your system to several different places now. How do you go about installing it through your first off season to have guys ready to run it at a competent level for year one? Yeah,
it'll be like really any other transition. You know, we'll get time in January where you get a certain amount of hours with the kids, and you can utilize some of that in the meeting room. So you want to take some of that time and, you know, make sure that their first meeting in spring ball isn't the first time that they're hearing the terminology and things like that. So you use the available time per NCAA rules in January to, you know, get a little bit of a head start. And certainly you have spring ball, which you have 15 opportunities to, you know, install the offense kind of, you know, in a whole part whole. You know, we're a conceptual based offense, so, you know, I think it's something that the kids can pick up rather quickly in terms of execution in the first year. And certainly in the summer, they're on their own doing the things that they're able to do. through the leadership of the team, and then, fall camp is the most integral part of it.
Coach Slim Smith from the Commercial Dispatch in Columbus.
Sure.
You got about 3 weeks to the early signing period. You're dealing with a class of players that you don't know and haven't recruited. Has there been anything in your previous experience that would prepare you for a pretty unique situation as far as that goes?
Well, I really don't think anybody in college football has anything necessarily, relevant to this experience with the signing day being pushed up this once. And it's certainly a confluence of events with a coaching change, and, you have high school kids and junior college kids, and you're trying to get things all situated. And, recruiting is a relationship endeavor, and these kids who have signed have built relationships and have been being recruited from Mississippi State for a good amount of time. So, the only thing that I can do is, be who I am. I've been on the phone with a majority of the guys and continue to do that, and, just let them know what the vision of this program is, how we're going to make them successful, as students and as players, and, do our best to, maintain what we have.
Hey, Joe, Will Savin from the Clarion Ledger. What do you value in a defensive coordinator most, and what's sort of the timetable on a hire there?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of great names that are under consideration, and, really, when I look at a defensive coordinator, having, been on offense, my entire life, is I look for guys who do things that make it difficult for me to game plan against. So you could talk about 3 down, 4 down, different coverage schemes and things like that. I want someone that it's going to be multiple, someone that's going to be versatile, someone that's going to be attacking, and really be a mirror image of our offense. So in terms of the timetable of hiring a staff, I can make 10 calls right now and have this staff filled before this press conference ends, but I want to measure twice and cut once, and make sure that we're not just hiring for the sake of getting this thing filled up, but we want to make sure we're getting the right people in here that give us the opportunity to be successful in the long term.
Joel Coleman, Starkville Daily. Just clarifying, I know you said you'd be here to evaluate and things during bowl season. So will you be with Penn State, coach? Be there for their bowl game? Anything like
Yes,
that?
sir,
with Penn
I'll be
State?
there. Yes, sir.
Okay. Will you be coaching in the bowl?
Oh no, I'll be evaluating. I don't know where they want me to stand on the sideline or up.
With Penn State.
Oh, with Penn State? No, I will not be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, you joined the SEC where there's many programs putting a ton of money, a ton of funding. John Cohen often says that at Mississippi State you have to be creative to kind of close that gap. So how do you feel about that challenge, and what is your plan on closing that gap and making this program into a national championship contender?
Yeah, that's a very good and interesting question. And to be honest with you, I mean, at 9:30 last night is the first time I walked through the building. So really, I'm trying to get my feet underneath me and to sit here and, make a broad sweeping generalization of the things that we need, relative to facilities and budget and things like that. Right now would be a bit presumptuous, because I want to make a statement and really not have a true basis of knowledge behind it. So that'd probably be a better question once recruiting gets over and we kind of get our feet underneath us and have the staff in, and I'm able to make some more kind of evaluations of the things that are going on. That would be something I could answer better for you.
You've been adamant in the past that you don't think throwing the ball deep is a crapshoot. You think you can practice it and make it in an efficient way.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I should put it closer to my face.
Okay.
You've been adamant in the past that you don't think going deep is a crapshoot. You think you can make it efficient and effective consistently. Kind of go into your philosophy in that regard.
Yeah, first and foremost, offensively, we're going to be a football team that runs the ball successfully. And you look at where we've been with the types of running backs and type of linemen we had. I believe the mentality of great teams are dictated by the offensive and defensive line. Otherwise, you might as well go play flag football. So we're going to run the ball successfully, and when we do that, it's going to force teams to commit numbers to the box by support, secondary support, or pressures, and that creates one-on-one matchups on the perimeter. So to me, the run game is about 3 things: numbers, angles, and grass. And where can we get our playmakers in space? In the pass game, it's about creating advantageous one-on-one matchups or being able to stretch zones with, pass routes that put people in conflict. So I think it isn't necessarily by design that we throw a ball a ton. I just think it's something that happens naturally as a part of our offense, where we take our guys and we'll put them in a position to exploit one-on-one matchups.
Hey, Coach, in the back. Robbie Dono from WCBI TV in Columbus.
Yep.
they're expecting to bring back a top 20 team here next year with the potential and the talent. How much did that team next year factor into your decision taking this job?
No, it factored in. Obviously, I think it's what I talked about, that this isn't a rebuild. This is a situation where I'm walking into a team that's done a very good job with a very good coaching staff, and that's part of the allure of the job, that you're coming in and you don't have to pour the foundation. It's up already, and you get a chance to bring your coaches in and put your schemes in, put your culture in, and put the kids in position to be successful. So that certainly played a part of it.
David Murray, Gene's Page 24/7. The SEC and the Big Ten have a mutual admiration society sometimes. But in your own experience watching the game and then talking to Coach Franklin, does he say there's anything different about SEC or Southern football in general?
No, it's challenging. Obviously, with Coach being at Vanderbilt, and talked about, the one thing that he talked about was how always impressed he was with the size and speed of the defensive lines in the Southeastern Conference. Now, certainly, the Big Ten and the Big Ten East with Wisconsin and Ohio State and Michigan, I mean, certainly the players in that league are of an elite caliber. But the one thing to hear Mark about in his time in this conference with Vanderbilt was, how impressed he was with the guys on the defensive line.
Hey, Coach. Nick Ducote from WLBT and Fox 40 in Jackson. I just have a question about your time at Penn State. How exactly did you get an offense from 100th to 21st within 10 months? It's a great fact. How did that happen? How'd you do that?
Very carefully. No. When you look at the numbers, the transition was somewhat similar to what it was at Fordham, where I think it was like 17 to 33 in the first year, or something like that. And the one thing I talked about with the kids at Penn State was, I'm not here to harp on our past, I'm here to create our future. So the one thing that we didn't talk about was what occurred in the past, good or bad, that we were gonna write our own book and be the first chapter and really, just put our heads down and went to work and, said, hey, this is what we're gonna do, this is why it's gonna be successful. And, to the kids' credit, and I love my kids at Penn State, they were awesome that, they bought into it. And then once confidence and success are kind of self-perpetuating, that once they saw, during spring ball and fall camp that the stuff was working, it helps you. You're not just selling a vision anymore. It's something that they can actually hang their hat on.
Hey, Joe. Tyler Griever from WJTV-12 in Jackson. You mentioned the returning talent you have coming back. What have you seen in your quarterback that's coming back once he gets healthy, of course, and Nick Fitzgerald?
No, in a little bit I've seen from watching games on TV, obviously, first and foremost, a super tough kid, a kid that's ultra competitive, that understands the game and has been well coached. And when I look at a quarterback, I want a guy that can do three things: beat you with his arm, beat you with his leg, and beat you with his brain. And from what I've seen, he's a guy that can do all three. And certainly, the barometer of success for a quarterback is how the players around you rally. And from what I've seen, he's a guy that his teammates respect and want to go to bat for. So that's a key component of it.
Hey, Joe. I heard that you met with the team today.
Yeah.
John said it was a really good meeting. What was your message to them?
Really, a lot of things that we talked about today, to be honest with you. A similar message. That I was excited to be here, talk to them a little bit about my background, talked about what the fundamental goals of our program were going to be, our goals and expectations. Some of the things moving forward in the next few weeks. But really just reiterating the message that we came here to elevate and compete for championships.
Coach Cohen said that he talked to quite a few people about you. I'm curious as to who you talked to about Mississippi State.
Who did I talk to about Mississippi State? Well, really, my representation are people I talked to, but I mean, a lot of it was research that I did on my own. And to be quite honest, there's not many of these jobs out there in the country. So when you talk about a place like Mississippi State in this conference and the allure of the job, there weren't many conversations that needed to be made. When you get an opportunity to come to a place like this in this conference with this kind of support and backing from the fans, it's really a no-brainer.
Coach, something a lot of people here today will probably be interested in. What's your thoughts about fan interaction in terms of practices and
fan interaction,
such as that?
I'm for it. No, I mean we'll have days that, and obviously once again this is something I need to sit down and talk with my staff about and kind of hash out some of the details. But to me, this is a game because of the fans. And as much as we can have them around and have them be a part of the fabric of our team and our program, because you go out there on game day and they're what makes us tick. So certainly everything that we can do to make them feel part of the team, we're going to do.
What does a coach have to be hired as one of your position coaches?
Let me go back to my notes here. Intelligence, loyalty, and a great work ethic, and he has to be a great recruiter and an expert at his position.
Hey, Joe, you mentioned recruiting a couple of times. What do you look for when you go out and recruit? What do you look for in a prospect?
In a prospect, first and foremost, you're looking for a guy who possesses the athletic ability and the football skill, to help us achieve our goals on the field and all the things I talked about. After that, because I'm a true believer in the little things and the intangibles, you're looking for guys that are smart, that are disciplined, that possess great work ethic, and care more about team success and individual recognition. So when you combine the talent aspect of it with the intangible part of it, usually those are guys that you can take the field with and trust that they're going to do the right things on Saturday, and they're going to do the right things Saturday night through Friday night as well.
Gene Swindoll with Gene's Page, 247 Sports. I'm going to be direct. Have you thought about how many members of your coaching staff will have recruiting background in the Southeast and maybe Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
Can you give a number?
No number? Oh, no. Everybody on the staff is going to have a piece of Mississippi. So that's first and foremost. The way I
Get a background.
Oh,
Or
backgrounds?
have a background.
Yeah, I mean, like anything in life and any business endeavor, you got to realize what your strengths are and the things that you need to improve. So certainly as someone, I've recruited down here and when I was at Fordham, signed kids from Baton Rouge, signed a kid from Bangor, South Carolina, signed a kid from Natchez. So I've been down here before, but certainly, it's not my area of expertise. And when you don't have an area of expertise in a certain field, you hire someone who is an expert. So certainly that's something that we're going to address and bring guys in here to make sure. And to me, it's three things. It's within 2 hours, within 6 hours, and then national. So we'll have a plan to recruit close to home. We'll have a plan to recruit in the general area, and then we'll have a recruit to go out and get the best players in the country.
Hey, Coach, you met with some of the guys outside the airport yesterday, and you asked them what their ring size was.
Sure.
Do you know what your ring size is?
Do I know? What is it? about yay big. I don't know. About right there.
All right, thank you for coming. We'll do some one-on-ones, and we have a couple of players too, and John's been here this Saturday. Thank you very much.
Hail State.